to Upstage Downstage, with him, Richard Platt, seated in the upper circle.
And him, Stephen Rees, typically seated in the cheap seat.
This is the Theatre Podcast, where we discuss productions we've seen,
Things we've liked,
and may not have liked,
giving our complete unprofessional
and non-biased opinions.
So grab a brew,
Take a seat,
and let's raise that curtain.
On today's episode, we'll be discussing Warhorse. We saw this production at Leeds Grand Theatre on the 23rd of August 2025. Based on the beloved novel by Michael Morpurgo, this powerfully moving and imaginative drama, filled with stirring music and songs, is a show of phenomenal inventiveness. At its heart are astonishing life-sized horses by South Africa's Handspring Puppet Company, who bring breathing, galloping, charging horses to thrilling life on stage. So Richard, what's it all about?
At the outbreak of World War I, Joey, young Albert's beloved horse, is sold to the cavalry and shipped to France. He's soon caught up in enemy fire and fate takes him on an extraordinary journey, serving both sides before finding himself alone in no man's land. Albert, who remained on his parents' Devon farm, cannot forget Joey. Though still not old enough to enlist, he embarks on a treacherous mission to find Joey and bring him home.
But first, our post-show opinion!
An emotionally powerful and poignant play.
A modern-day classic with puppetry centre stage.
So with all that said, let's...
Set the scene!
So Richard, we went to see The Warhorse, as we've already said, at Leeds Grand Theatre, and what a theatre that was. I mean, that place is epic, isn't it?
Really is.
The whole theatre
Felt
is just...
stuck in history.
Yes, it's beautiful.
Well kept.
Even the bar, which we frequented,
Oh, well, one has to.
was very elaborate and decorative and just beautiful. But let's not discuss that. Let's set the scene of Warhorse. And this was another one of those bare stage sets, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely a very confident piece of staging, as in you don't know what you're expecting with what's coming, because the stage is almost purely a wooden floor, a bit of ripped paper that goes across the whole of the stage above, which turns out to be a projection screen, which we'll come on to sort of throughout the production. But that's pretty much it. It's basically a lot of black screening and tabs at the side just to camouflage all the things that are going to happen on stage almost.
This is the first time I've seen this production, so I've known about how good it is, but it's one where you don't know why it is. You just know you need to come and see it at some point in your life.
Yeah.
And when you do come face to face with just a blank atmosphere on stage, it's slightly unnerving, because you think, oh no, I don't know if I'm going to like this. Is it going to be like...
It's very stark. It's very empty and cavernous almost. It feels quite...
But
like
sometimes they can be the best shows, like Plough My Bones into the Field of the Dead, or whatever that was called. I can't remember now. But that started out just the same, very empty, and they just kept bringing more and more things into the acting space, which is exactly what they did here.
And I think that's what I mean by confidence of set, because they know what's going to happen on this stage. It's just like you said, you've worded it right. It's unnerving because it's quite it gives you the fear of the unknown a little bit, because you don't know what's coming, and
particularly with the content.
And I think that also shows with the opening part of the production, where almost the cast appear almost ghostly, because the way they light it, they play with darkness quite a lot. So when people walk into the light, it's like they almost fade up onto stage and they're already there, and you've not even noticed them walk out. You know, they just seem to appear ghostly almost, and it's
well, that's right, because you had the main character Albert. Did he have his horse at the time? The smaller horse. Or he was at the front centre of the stage, so your eyes were sort of focused on the characters at the front of the stage. So when they did appear, because there was a lot of them right at the back, it did make them fear.
It's the part where it was being bought at auction, basically.
It was just before that, though, wasn't it? Because they were coming into the auction arena.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. It's like they all walk in and sort of create this space out of nothing almost, and
that was powerful in itself. That was,
using pieces of rods and wood to make the sort of the edges of the pen that the horse was in, and it just set. So we talk about setting a scene. That did set. You took you straight to a place
with very minimal props.
Exactly. And actually quite colourful for saying that it's a period piece. It's actually quite it gives a wash of almost a painting. As we go through this, we'll talk more about that, but I think it felt very specific that we're recreating almost scenes that you'd see in a painting on a wall, or the vividness of it.
I think a lot of the colours specifically chosen to be slightly sepia and dull, though.
Yeah.
Because it isn't until later on where you see the blood turn into the poppies on the projection where you actually see a vivid colour of red to depict the battle. So I don't know if that was a conscious choice of the artistic director to make everything sort of like a muted colour.
Yeah,
that's
I think
how
it would have
appeared
been.
to me.
It's bound to be, because it's going to have, the whole, when you mention poppies and things, the association to war and poppies was all World War One, and you've got to restrain yourself to not use certain things until that point, really.
I mean, some of the background characters, they did have colour,
Yeah.
some greens and pinks or whatever, but again, they don't seem to be as bright, as vibrant.
I think they were all very natural colours, almost like garden colours, the things that you'd see. There was nothing over the top.
I think we discussed this in the car journey.
Yeah.
I think they were all dressed as if they were cottage garden.
Yeah.
They're the colours of the flowers there.
Yeah, it didn't feel like things were out of place in the sense of there weren't colours that you couldn't get. It was more, it didn't feel synthetic. I think that's the thing,
These costumes were spot on for the era that it was made. Every detail of the costumes I felt were spot on. What did you feel?
Yeah, I know. I totally agree. I think the other thing I noticed was when you've got Joey's puppeteers and Topthorn's puppeteers for the two main horses, they both had contrasting costumes that were very similar. So Topthorn's were all subdued blacks and greys and a black flat cap, and Joey's were more farmer, khaki and green, and a green cap. So it like had you knew who was controlling who almost in the, it just complemented the horse itself. So whoever the corresponding horse was, and I think for me the costumes, all of the costumes fit. When even in the military costumes, they all felt like they'd been found from historic items. Nothing felt out of context really. And I think it was quite useful that the sergeant that was wearing the big red blazer, it stood out so much because nobody else was wearing anything bright, and it gave you that level of authority, shall we say.
Yes.
But then I suppose when we talk about the set, the projections were pinnacle to that set, really, in the sense of they positioned you where you were travelling throughout the production.
And they also gave you the time of the date.
Yes.
Well, not necessarily the time, but the time as in the date, the year or
yeah.
place setting as well. So
And,
that was
and
quite
they,
handy.
they were all done in sketchbook style pieces, so it worked really well, which linked to a character within the production who did sketches
Yes.
and had a sketchbook, so it helped link all of that together.
Yeah. Which was more noticeable when it came to the battle scenes, because you had the people going into battle, but then up above you had the sketchbook of the men coming forward and also the horses travelling. So if there was any time of travel on a horse or whatever, you'd have the animation in sketch form moving from one side to the other.
Yeah.
And also when they travelled into a village or wherever they travelled to, you saw the buildings come forward on the screen, which I thought was quite amazing, because they mixed the live animation, well, not live animation, but they mixed the live puppetry along with the live animation of the screen, is what I meant as well. So that was interesting. Like, it wasn't just about the acting, it was about the puppetry and about the artistry and the drawings as well.
The drawings actually moved on there. They didn't just stay fixed and almost like a PowerPoint presentation. It would move around the images so that it sort of gave some depth to where the locations, and flitted between when we were in France and going to that side back to the home front, and you got it helped just position the production really.
So that's setting the scene. The thing is with the set, because it moves about a bit, there's a lot that happens and a lot that comes on, but it isn't really anything to set other than the barn it was Devon, wasn't it?
Yes.
The family's Devon farm, where you just had that outhouse, the horse's house where they buy the horse, and there's the swan. No, the geese. It was a geese, or is it a goose? It's a singular. It's a goose.
a singular goose.
Singular goose. That's it.
Yeah.
So they had the goose there, only with a bit of. Well, they had a door and
a window.
And was it a window?
Yeah,
hung
door
down.
and a window.
But that was it.
Yeah, exactly.
No other set as such.
No, there was no. Everything was made by people on stage, really. Or when it came to the stables for the horses, it was just 3 or 4 people holding wooden rods that basically created the perimeter fences of the stables almost, and that was it. You know, you did have farming equipment and things that just to give that authenticity to some of the scenes.
Yeah, you had the ploughs, didn't you?
Yeah.
But they needed the space obviously for the puppets.
Yeah, exactly. I think, but it was also like they had the band with the instruments and things like that on stage that gave you the impressions of all of that, and I think everything was pretty much carried on or taken off. You did have stretchers, or you had things that, you know, a lot of it was prop based things that weren't ever fixed on stage.
No. Whilst we've discussed setting the scene and everything that is about the set costumes and set pieces, let's move on.
Moving on to our next segment, as we say, we're
Here
for the drama.
So, let us discuss the actors, the direction, the writing of this piece, as well as the puppetry in this little section, Richard.
Yeah.
I thought this was... Well, let me start by saying that this is the second puppetry piece of theatre that I've watched. The first one being Animal Farm, way back in our podcast history books of 2022 it was.
Yeah.
And that was great.
Yeah.
That was really brilliant piece of puppetry, but so was this. This was just as good.
And Animal Farm was from people who created some of the puppeteers that created Warhorse, so you can see the link, really. So when it was actually put together, you can see the influence of why they created that piece. You know, to then go, it was like another version of. They must have had a different idea, and you know, it was good to see them use it and create another really good piece of theatre. So if they ever tour that again, I'd urge anybody to go and see that.
Which one?
Animal Farm.
Oh, right, okay.
You know, I think for me with puppetry, when it's done well, it increases the performance style, and this is where you have to use your imagination. And I think that can get lost in theatre a lot of times, where it doesn't have to be a physical person creating that, or it doesn't have to be a real animal. You know, I think what this showed was it almost brings out the child in anybody watching something like this, because you're starting to like inanimate objects really by movement and by the cast believing that these beings are real. It's quite interesting because it'll go back to, you know, hundreds of years when puppetries have been used for a long time, and I think this is a really good example of showing a complete contrast between your Sooty and Sweeps and your, you know, Gordon the Gophers right the way through to this. I think it's very.
I think it all comes down to the journey and the writing of the play.
Yeah.
For example, when we watched this, we're introduced by the small horse.
Yeah.
It isn't until you start watching the play and how Albert and the horse and their relationship and how he tries to save the horse and that horse his life is in danger, and when people mistreat that horse.
Yeah.
Now we're seeing it as puppets, but we have to pretend that the horses. So as you go through this, you start building up your own relationship with that make-believe horse.
Yeah, exactly.
And so when things are happening and the puppeteers are reenacting how that horse would be, you do have this strong connection in this make-believe world that is a living, breathing being.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though it was just a piece of wooden fabric,
yeah.
You've grown accustomed to it. You have gone through its own struggles because it's relatable, and nobody really likes to see any animal come to harm.
Exactly.
So it isn't just about the puppeteers, it's also about the writing and how strong the writing is to get you to feel something for that inanimate object, really.
It is, and it's because it could be, I think...
Well, it's not an inanimate object, it's an
animated object.
In that animated object.
Yeah, exactly.
I was thinking as soon as I said that, I thought, no, that's wrong.
And I think sometimes when with stuff with times like this, is this is almost writing moments that aren't actually verbal. This is writing the movements or the positioning or you're writing for something that's to portray that animal or that character on stage.
It's the action, isn't
exactly,
it? So it comes to the directing, because these animals can't speak.
No, exactly.
How do they get across that language barrier?
Yeah, exactly.
And we all know how.
Yeah.
By watching any animal, how they react to anything.
Exactly. Because if you step back from all this and go, you're going to do a production about a horse on stage. This book was written as a story, and you're going to turn it into theatre. Like, how are you going to do this? And I think what the cleverness of this is, you've got large physical forms of horses or animals that are invading a space on stage that it's quite intimidating, but for the right reasons, because you feel the power of what actually is happening. And I think it typifies it in the scene where Joey comes of age.
Yes.
Where he goes from this foal into a fully grown horse. And that one scene almost makes you shiver, because it's like that moment of like, there's so much commitment for puppets in this production that you're like, this actually, it feels powerful. And to get that out of just, inanimate bits of objects, and to create something like that it's very technical, but also very very powerful in its performance.
Agreed. And there's a few scenes that replicate that as well, which showcase the power within that, where you've got them trying to get Joey to pull this plough, otherwise he's going to be basically put to death.
Yeah, exactly.
So you've got the horse resisting having his harness being put on.
Yeah.
And then they do that again, where they had the two horses, where even the other horse didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
But Joey was the one that said, I'm used to it, I've been trained to do it, so I'll do it. This is during the war.
Yeah.
So he managed to save himself by not fearing putting this harness on. But you do actually get the shakes and the trembles from the horse, and the puppeteers treating them like that really, really shy, intimidating, not like fearful of what this harness is going on onto them is.
Exactly.
And big shout out to the puppeteers for doing all the detailed work and analysing how horses behave, and not just horses but any animal. You can watch what your dogs do in any particular scene, if they're fearful of having the lead on, or if they're scared of something, or the sounds of guns going off, at fireworks, all the emotions that any animal go through, because they can't say it. As a puppeteer, you've got to research and know how they're going to act, how they're going to react, how can I make this piece of wood and harness on me react in a certain way to make it believable that this creature that I am now carrying on my back, how is it going to respond to this?
Even to the intricacies of, they must have done research on when a gunshot goes off and how a horse reacts, because they do a lot of conditioning training for horses in the military and things like that. And it's like, they must have done some research on how much that affects certain ones, like preparing them for shock, or because there was a few moments where there'd be an explosion or a gunshot, and you'd see the horse react, and it's like, but that was 4 or 5 people doing that, and it wasn't just one person making the horse react. They were all on it and involved in it. And also, because this was based on the First World War, they wouldn't have had that intel to think that they'd have to have some kind of training for horses. It's only now where we can look back and think, actually, we need to make these tactical horses and dogs or whatever aware of things. But it was interesting how the older horse that was there was less reactive, because he'd been on the war front and things like that. So it's like,
well, the poor thing were knackered.
Yeah, but it was interesting to see the contrast. They didn't just do the same motions with every sort of thing you saw on stage, I think. And I think then brings me on to the goose, where that's the light relief, or you're already sold by this naughty little goose that's going around stage trying to get into the house and still not getting in there. And it just shows you that was your funny little Muppets character, really, your naughty little goose on stage that had the movement, but also it gave you some light relief from the heaviness of the production, really, sometimes. And I think that was important.
You needed that, because you needed the breathing space, and also to know that it's not just the horses. you've got to set the horses within this play area of other animals and to showcase them and how they react and their little quirks. Because you got that in the Animal Farm as well, didn't you?
Yeah, exactly.
It was all about the animals in that one.
Yeah.
So let's move across to the writing of this one. It's quite a nice story and a very interesting one because I didn't really know that much about it. It really does take you on a journey watching Albert and how he battles trying to get his horse back, and that one possession that all he has is his friend for life. And there's something quite empowering and captivating and emotionally visceral about that I quite enjoyed, and seeing how a lot of people were against him and his struggles and his fight for that truth in his...
I think when it comes to writing, it's very easy to think, well, we've got the book, we can just translate that to stage and put it on. But there must have been a lot of things written in the book that didn't really tell you how the horse acted, reacted, or was part of it. So, and actually, it's the main character of the production, so you need to do quite a lot of work.
What did you just say? They wouldn't be in the book?
No, what I mean is they would be in the book. There'd just be a lot of probably subtext that wasn't there. It's more, and to translate it to stage is not an easy task. And also make it semi-musical, because this is a play with music and songs within it, but it's more your folk tunes that have been going around for a long time. To translate that to stage, I think this shows how it can be done, but it was clear there was one viewpoint of how they wanted this to look.
This is the one where they've got a leader at the helm knowing exactly what they want out of it.
Yeah, exactly. Because
or at least a group of people who are in sync with what their aim is and how they want it to look.
Because for me, I always look at a production like this and go, actually, if the projections didn't work, would it matter? I don't think it would have. You could have got away with the whole production. You know what I mean? As in,
yeah,
it's one of those pieces of theatre where you could have done it on the side of a hill at night with some lights and it would have worked. You've got...
Ooh, an outdoor one.
And I just think, you don't necessarily need... As long as you've got the props and the bits around you that depict the changes in the scenes, the rest actually enhances, but it doesn't detach from the fact that it's actually solid theatre in the middle of it all. And it's actually quite imposing with it matters having a big cast with this, because you need that fluidity of moving from scene to scene. It's quite intense as a piece of theatre because there isn't really much let up. There's no real stop between scenes. It's all a constant. It's all like one big scene.
It's constantly going, isn't it?
Yeah.
All the time. The only breathing space you do have is those little comedy moments or those little pieces where they're really...
Like an interaction in the house or...
Yeah, or they're having their quiet moments, but it is constant on the beat all the time.
There's no let up, and I think that's important for this to have that pressure on it, really, to get through it.
I must say, watching this, it's very much a masterclass of how to direct a production. I thought all the cast were fantastic, but how they performed and moved on stage along with the puppeteers, because I'm going to separate them from the actors and everyone else simply because the puppeteers had a different sort of a job to do. Whilst they were directed and everything, they were carrying the wood. Well, I say the wood. They were carrying the puppets.
Yeah.
Basically, so they had as a whole something different than the actors because they weren't speaking, but for everything to come together like that and be directed and have their movements precise and the actors how they all work together, because there was a lot of things going on and a lot of battles and a lot of props coming on as well, you really had to be on the A game for this. And I just thought, because it was relentless, mirror that with the projections as well. Visually seeing everything come at you, charge at you, literally on stage. Yeah. To have everything going correctly and using the space really well. It was just fantastic. I think the director did an amazing job.
And I think as well, if you take something away from production, you have to give it in so many other places. So, and what I'm getting at is the ensemble all had multiple roles to play. They didn't just walk on and go, I'm villager third from the left every time. 1 minute they're villagers, the next minute they're all army either veterans or the new army going forward, or then the French peasants. Then there was that many different things that the cast had to do to depict those scenes and each place, and and there was some points where if you didn't go to that length, it would have lacked that authenticity, and I think that really did show. And there was also moments where you could tell the cast were singing off stage just to add some vocals to the production, but they were just stood around the side of the stage. But there can't have been much room at the behind stage because there's that much in props that's used in this that there must have been stuff everywhere.
Well, that's it. You had 3 sets. Well, you had 3 large horses. You also had the tank. You had the plough. You had the gun
turret thing. Oh no, the gun on the back of it. Yeah, like on another plough almost.
Yeah, yeah.
You also had 4 other horses that were part of the army scene that were like half horses that were in the background to flesh it out to make it look like there was more horses on the front. So you had that in the background, and they would have been put somewhere. And even though there wasn't much set, there was a lot of props.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
I think for me it was commitment It was very obvious there was commitment from all the cast to perform this, to make sure it was a believable piece of theatre. Stopped and started when it needed to, and they took instruction and did what they were told. Because this, you needed to do what you're told in a way, because there is definite scene changes and everything has to happen almost systematically, because if it doesn't, you would lose so much of the pace and the performance of this as a whole. So it's hard to single one person out, but I thought they all did a fantastic job really of being in the characters, and it's quite useful for me. And I don't know how you felt about this, Steve, but I didn't really know anybody on stage. There was nobody famous,
which is a good thing.
I don't mean famous in a loose. I really hate to discredit West End or National Tour Company production casts, because they are more performers than most people we see in on TV or pop stars and this, that and the other, because they're performing every night, constantly, solidly, putting out a really good performance, but only those people in that theatre see that. And what I mean is, it's really nice to watch a piece of theatre where you don't associate somebody's outside world achievements. You're actually watching them be a part of this piece of theatre without that. You're immersing yourself in the world that is being created on stage.
Yes, and it's not just a case of knowing any celebrities. I think when you use the word celebrity, I think you also mean notable people.
Exactly, yeah.
So anybody that you follow or you've seen in another play before.
Yeah. How does somebody become the next notable person if they're never given the light to shine? And I think that's what I like with a production where actually I'm going to see new talent on stage and see them perform their heart out and shine, and it's really nice to see that the casting of this had that element, really.
Yeah, I suppose some instances, if it would cast someone who, had a main role in Coronation Street in it, I think that's where we're getting at.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I mean. A big
no, it's the Panto style of picking somebody that's famous to sell tickets rather than actually just being confident that the production itself will sell tickets. I think that's where I'm coming from, really.
Yeah, they don't have to rely on that celebrity juice, shall we say, just pulling in the audience members. I do want to say that the original creative team of directors for this was Marianne Elliott and Tom Morris, and it was Tom Morris who head up the creative team for the director for the tour that we're seeing now. So Tom Morris, and the revival director was Katie Henry. So they were the ones in charge of the direction for the UK tour.
Yeah, and I think it's clear that there's a manual on how this happens and how this production runs, and it's like, woe betide you deviate off that, because we need to do it.
Well, if it
needs
works,
to have authenticity.
It works. Yeah, and exactly. Also Ray Smith designed the drawings that we were able to see on the projection list. On the projection, which was really, really was just fantastic.
Yes, exactly.
Exceedingly good there, very detailed. The only thing I'd say about buying a programme for this, we never actually got to have a cast list.
No,
so we don't know who played Albert or any of the family or any such things. But the one we saw was fantastic.
Yes, he was.
Whomever he may be.
Yes, that's how well known the whole, the cast world is in this production.
Yeah.
Just think that it's a show of great performance style. It is a shame that there was no cast list. I feel like the production programme was just made for the entire tour, not one specific for each area. So it is a little bit of a shame that we couldn't, credit the people that are in it.
It seems to be just like a novelty thing for the play itself.
Yes,
of the Warhorse.
more of a souvenir than a...
Yeah, like these were all the pictures from many years ago, or the original one as well. So it's slightly annoying when you don't get the cast list of what you're watching to reference, but it is what it is.
It is.
Moving on to our next segment, as we say,
What the Tech Is This?
Technically speaking, we've already discussed the overhead projector, and we've also discussed the puppets. So apart from those technical aspects, there wasn't much else. So were the gunshots?
Yeah, I think they were good.
They were good. Because I know you pick up on those.
Yeah, they were good. I mean, for me, the explosions and the world that you're taken into when you go into war actually feels authentic. So I think that was really nicely done. And the other thing I like that's nicely done is there's quite a lot of use of haze, for smoke machines, things like that. But I particularly like when they almost filled the stage but by hitting the back of the projector screen. So it sort of created this curtain of smoke. So when you had some entrances and things come through it added to that eeriness and that like almost change in perspective, because you've gone from a front room in Devon in a farmhouse to a complete like war front, and I think it gave you that cold and the chills, and it gave you that effect that you were somewhere else, that you were in the trenches. It took you to those places.
Very evocative.
Very evocative, and it just gave you the sense, because it's quite simple in its conception. So lighting and sound do the work a lot of the time with playing with shadows and playing with darkness and creating a dark space at the back. And spoiler, there's screens at the back that are full length that move out and in and out to get people in and out quickly to make them appear on stage. But it's done so well that you wouldn't know it was happening if you didn't see that other part of the stage that's happening behind it. And that's what I mean by playing with the dark, and the smoke helps to... smoke and mirrors is a big thing, and if you get it right, you can do a lot with it. And it's actually probably the most simple form of theatre technology that, it's right back in the, the Victorian times of theatre that's like distraction is a very useful thing. The only one thing I was going to touch on in the technical bit was the music side.
Yeah.
So this production has gained some controversy over its conception, because basically around 2013 there was a decision to remove the musicians that used to perform in this and strip it right down to only what we see now on stage, which is one accordion player and the odd band moment, but everything else is recorded music now. Whereas back then it was actually live musicians. So there was a quite a big like case where a lot of musicians lost their jobs on this production, and they were replaced by recorded music. So it was quite a big controversy, because it's like, does that take the authenticity of the production away by creating a pre-recorded version of it when these musicians had been involved in it probably from the start, and now all of a sudden they're out of work as well. So it was quite an interesting thing. Was it done to profit, or was it done to just tighten the production up? So it's like, there's two ways to look at it.
It's something to think about, and also if this play sells exceptionally well, out, then there's an awful lot of people not earning any money from that by being in jobs.
But the music they've been recorded playing has actually now been used, and they're not actually getting any credit. So I think that was the controversy back in, they lost the case, but it does question. You do question the sort of, that side of it. So, but it's just an interesting thought moment, the case is highly covered. So if you want to read it yourself, it's out there to read. If they knew that their intention was to be recorded for a production and that was the aim, that's different. But to basically find out they hadn't got a job the next week because they were told they weren't needed, there's a difference to how you find things out. So it was interesting times. But it doesn't detract from this. But it's just I think you would just need to acknowledge that.
And now it's time for
Rewind, Rewatch.
What scene would you like to rewind and watch again?
I think for me it's the coming of age scene. I think that just typifies puppetry at its finest, to be fair. Apart from watching the whole thing again, because it's the second time I've seen it, so I've seen it a long time ago, but this is the newest time I've seen it. But no, I think I'd definitely be the coming of age bit.
Yeah, I'd definitely see this again. I think I'd see the scene where they're trying to get the harness on Joey for the first time,
good one.
And him trying to plough the scene, that one, to try and encourage him to get the plough from one end of the stage to the other.
Yeah, and I like how it mirrors that later on in the production when it comes to the same thing in the war-torn.
Yeah, war-torn.
In the war-torn location when they're in the trenches almost, and they're having to put the harness on Joey again, and it's the same way later down the line, and it's just
with the other horse, which is, what was his name?
Topthorn.
With Topthorn.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of what his name was, but it just wasn't happening.
It doesn't roll off the tongue, does it?
No. I kept thinking Thornhill. I don't know why.
Moving on to our final segment, as we say,
Call this a show?
I think I'd urge anybody to see this production because I think you get a sense of how much you can learn from bare stage theatre, really, and how far it can push the boundaries, because it's very easy to think you need to throw the kitchen sink at a production, but this shows you that you can actually do quite a lot with not a lot of set, but create something quite immersive and quite important for me as a yardstick of this type of theatre, really.
Agreed. I would definitely get people to come and see this show. I thought it was just fantastic. This sums up what theatre is. It's got everything in it. You don't have to have much of a set, but what you can have is the creativity that you bring.
Exactly.
And as a piece of theatre with puppets, this is just fantastic. This is just brilliant. I think everything about it, even down to it's got a strong script, it's got a strong story, a strong message behind it all. There's nothing more I can say other than it just being a top-class production.
Yeah.
It's definitely one for everyone to come and see. Scores then, please, Richard, for Warhorse. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being an outstanding production fit for thoroughbreds and 1 being as interesting as a hobby horse in a trench, what's it going to be?
Well, it can only be a 10 out of 10.
And I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10 as well. So, what sound effect will you be choosing from the following? A complete train wreck, tumbleweed, an audible shrug of the shoulders, a slow clap, a pleasant applause, or a standing ovation. What will it be?
It's a standing ovation, but I'd like the sound of hooves clapping.
A stampede?
A stampede, yes, please.
A stampeding invasion. No.
No, that's Julius Caesar.
A stampeding ovation from me as well. So there we are. That's our discussion of Warhorse. We hope you found it insightful.
If not, entertaining.
Stay tuned as we bring you more of our thoughts
and opinions
on many theatrical delights in future episodes.
If you'd like to get in touch, email us at upstagedowstagepod@gmail.com. You can always join in the chat to share with us your views of a production.
Also, make sure to follow, share, like and subscribe to all our channels so you get every episode the second it's released. And we hope you join us again for another instalment of
Upstage Downstage.
I'm recording.
Oh, are you now? So, have you got all the pictures ready?
I think so, yeah.
You think so? Okay, so Richard, we went along to the Leeds Grand Theatre.
Just say that again.
Oh, really? Why? I
moved
thought we were
this,
recording.
It's my fault.
Oh, you were fucking about, were you?
I was, yeah.
Fucking about. Oh, we're good to go. I'll start speaking. Oh, I'm just going to move my mic. What, might not want to speak again?
Well, you don't have to if you don't want to.
No, I do. No, I do.
Is this the silent version?
No, this is a Braille version.
I mean, the horse didn't say much, so we could do an interview with the horse.
Nay! Oh, sorry, that was my share.
Oh. Are you doing this one?
If you want me to, yes.
You do it. Go for it. You do it.
I'll do it. Are we recording?
We
I should hope so. On today's episode, we'll be discussing Warhorse. We saw this production at... What?
Slightly lower. Slightly shout, like you were shouting.
What do you want me to turn me down?
No, I think it was fine. It was just that first
Because normally
bit.
I'm always quiet. Based on the beloved novel by Michael Morpurgo. Based on the beloved novel by Michael Purgo, this powerfully... What?
Michael Purgo. He wants more. He needs more.
Based on the beloved novel by Michael Morpurgo, this powerfully moving and imaginative drama... Will you stop laughing? I can see you just chuckling to yourself.
It sounded Australian.
Oh no, really? Oh jeez Louise.
That's why.
That's terrible.
More Purgo.
Based on the beloved novel by Michael Purgo, this powerfully moving and imaginative drama filled with stirring music and songs. Right, I'll do it again. You've got a droopy mic. Can you sort yourself out, please?
Sunday morning.
That's what happens when you don't go to church.
It is.
Starts
Pray for
drooping.
Jesus. I just want to eat baby cheeses instead.
Baby Jesus.
Baby cheeses.
Based on the beloved novel by Michael Morpurgo. Oh, I've done it. I've
See,
actually
well,
got... No, because you've made me go into it now.
Well, that's what you did.
Oh, hell's bells. No, I will do this. Even if it kills me. Right, let's try it again. Oh, I'm stuck in it now. Oh, no. How do I get out of it? How do I get out of this language? Sheila, that's not going to help me. Based on the beloved novel by Michael Purgo. Oh, no, I've done it. Ugh. At its heart are astonishing life-sized horses by... I'm going to have to do that again because I'm searching for my next word.
Oh, yeah. Because you're doing...
This is helping me move it along.
I know it is, but you're just trying to read as well while your eyes going.
I'm trying not to get into Australian accent. That's what I'm trying not to do. Or trying to do. I'm trying to not do it. At its heart are astonishing life-sized horse... Oh, I've just knocked the mic. I've knocked the mic. Hey. At its heart are astonishing life-sized horses by South Africa's Handstring Puppet Company, who bring breathing... That doesn't make sense. Oh, it's probably how I've said it. At its heart are astonishing life-sized horses by South Africa's Handspring Puppet. I think I said handstring last time.
At the outbreak of World War I, Joey, young Albert's beloved horse, is sold to the cavalry and shipped to France. He's soon.
Have you got a shoon?
He's soon caught up in enemy fire, and fate takes him on an extraordinary journey, serving on both sides.
Did you say fake or fate?
Fate.
Oh, it sounded...
Yeah, no, it is. I'm going to do it again.
Oh yeah, do it all. I mean, we might as well. We've been in here all day doing my bit.
Yeah, exactly. It took ages. You couldn't get away from Australia.
Hello?
He's soon caught up in enemy fire, and fate takes him on an extraordinary journey.
Oh no.
Serving on both sides before he's... What's that?
He's soon. Just go from he's soon.
Serving on both sides before finding himself alone in no man's land, Albert, who remained on his parents' Devon farm...
Hold on, we've got a helicopter going over.
They're coming to find him.
Choppy, choppy, choppy.
Get your chopper out.
Excuse me? I don't think so, young man.
Oh, it's nice to be a branded young man. I don't want to be a branded young man. But well,
You can be branded if you want.
get another shrimp on the Barbie.
Yeah. Come on, get on with it. And all
Albert.
that said, go on.
Albert, who remained, though still not old enough to enlist, he embarks on a treacherous mission to find Jerry.
Treacherous mission.
I know.
Just go back to, just start from the start, at the outbreak of World War One.
He's soon caught up in enemy fire, and fate takes him on an end. He's soon caught in He's soon caught up in enemy. He embarks on a treacherous journey.
Mission.
Just everything's about a journey. It's about the journey.
Oh, we've not used that word before.
No, not for a bit.
Before.
Not for a bit anyway. Though still not old enough to enlist, he embarks on a treacherous mission.
Treacherous mission.
It's hard.
Put your teeth in.
Though still not old enough to enlist, he embarks on a treacherous mission.
How you doing over there? It's treacherous, this mission, is it? Treacherous.
You wanted to do
You
Bugsy
sound like
Malone.
Carol Channing.
You wanted to do Bugsy Malone.
Raspberries.
You love that production. Though still not old enough to enlist, he embarks on a treacherous mission.
I think it's just the way your tongue sits in your mouth.
Yeah, well, I can't fucking change that, can I?
Get your teeth out. For the lads.
He embarks on a treacherous mission. Treacherous mission. It's because I'm trying to join the words together.
Just get rid of treacherous. He embarks on a mission.
No, it's fine. We'll do it. He embarks on a treacherous mission.
You've got to do it.
He embarks on a treacherous mission. I can't. Find a word
Can we
which you
get a
can't
speech
say.
therapist over here, please? Treacherous.
Treacherous. He embarks on a treacherous mission. It's because I'm trying to form the next word.
We're going to have out of outtakes for this one.
He embarks on a treacherous mission.
Just say treacherous.
Treacherous. You're going to have to cut them in.
I'm going to have to.
He embarks on a treacherous.
Yeah. No, you did it right first.
I did, yeah. He embarks on a treacherous.
No, you forked it.
Pause. Mission to find Joey and bring him home.
So, with all that finally said,